he goes and he plays his set, and right as he's playing that song for the first time, this QR code comes up on the screen behind him. The set ends, and he walks off and he checks his wallet, and there's at that point there was like $2,500 in Ethereum.
All right, guys, on this episode, I got Daniel Cutler from Block Sound Management.
Mm-hmm.
What's Block Sound Management? I know it's music, but let's go into detail.
So thank you for having me. I'm very
You're welcome.
Happy to be here. So Block Sound Management is it's a management company, right? So it's an artist management company where I help guide and advise artists and most importantly develop their careers as musicians, artists. What I think makes it a bit more special, like the block part, is that we also focus on Web3.
Okay.
So previous management companies I had up until a few years ago, Web3 was not part of our strategy. When I started Block Sound in 2020, there's a reason that I combined block and sound, because block was blockchain and sound is music, and so at that point in 2020, I didn't know nearly as much about blockchain and NFTs and Web3 as I do now, but I knew that's where I wanted to head to the degree that I named the company Block Sound.
When did it start changing over, like from music where it was, or it still is, to like people like, okay, Web3's out or it's coming, and NFTs are going to be big here?
Yeah.
When was that? Like 2020, 2017? When did that the real nerds get into it?
Man, I think it depends on like who you are and what your story is. I know guys and girls that are just sort of getting into it now.
Yeah.
For me, my story was it was 2020. It was about September, October. And I actually had sort of just wound up a clothing company that I had been working on for a few years, and so it was already struggling a bit, doing okay, but still not quite where I needed it to be, and then pandemic hit, and then so I had to wind it up, and having a lot of time on my hands and wondering what to do next. In the back of my mind, I'd always been interested in blockchain, and of course. And then I had been out of the music game for a few years now. And so I was like, now's a really good time to start exploring what exactly blockchain is. So what I did was how I got into blockchain, for me, what excited me was I started Googling, like, where can I learn about blockchain? And one of the first things that came up was this incredible free online Sloan MIT course, lectured by Gary Gensler, who is now the head of the SEC in the Biden administration.
Yep.
And he is a blockchain, a blockchain expert. He had been studying it for a while, and so he did sort of a guest curriculum for Sloan MIT, and I think it was called Blockchain and Money. And so I just, I'll check it out, right? It's free. It's obviously a really reputable school. And man, like within halfway through episode 1, because basically you were just a fly on the wall for these lectures. And halfway through the first lecture, I was just like hooked. I was like, wow, blockchain. And so it started with Bitcoin technology and cryptography and, hash trees and like all the stuff I didn't understand, but I still found it fascinating. I think over the next 6 weeks, I devoured the course. It was about 20 lectures, and I did, I don't know, say a couple a day, like just putting in so much time into it. And I came out of it with a real solid sort of fundamental understanding of how blockchain worked. And I was like, okay, I'm still not I'm still excited by this whole blockchain thing. That didn't bore me, and I don't feel like I'm out of my depth. And so the next pivot for me was like, I'm going to explore music and blockchain and see if I can, connect some dots there and see if there's any use cases in music and blockchain. This was 2020, which in Web3, time is like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually I found a couple amazing books that had been written maybe around 2017, 18 on blockchain and music. If I can remember them, I'll maybe let you know at some point during this podcast what the names of them. But I actually realized, like, in my research and through those books, that there were very few use cases just 2 years ago, like real life use cases. There was ideas and there was theories, examples of real life use cases of musicians or labels or anyone actually putting blockchain to use. There were very few. And so, I don't know, it didn't discourage me, but I actually maybe got me a little more interested to, like, well, what can I do that maybe no one else is doing, right?
I think you're the first one I met that got interested in blockchain, because usually they invest in some type of, they buy, Ethereum or Bitcoin or something. NFTs like later on, but they started like 2017, 2013, maybe even some before that, right? And it's always like, it was the crypto they bought, and it's like, oh.
It was the DeFi route, right?
Well, DeFi was after. DeFi was, they got the crypto, it just sits there, does nothing, and now, you know what, I can make 6, 7, 8% off of lending this. Yeah, you know what, why not? Right? So DeFi, I think, comes after. I think a lot of people get involved. They buy the crypto, don't understand it, and then like, oh, this is a different layer. Oh, it's called Web 3.0. It's called blockchain. Right, okay. Then they get into it.
Yeah, for sure. No, mine was like, old school, starting with blockchain.
So, how do you bring NFTs into, or Web 3 into music?
I think that, like, the game changer for me, as I think it was like the wake up for the entire industry, was when NFTs exploded, like in 2021 at some point, with, what was it? It was Blau, right? That launched, this electronic artist that launched an NFT project that ended up, I think it netted him about $20 million, and that alone, that story alone, and what he did was, he was the first artist, I believe, one of the first, where he used NFTs to offer essentially a royalty stream from his royalties to the owners of NFTs, whoever was the holder of the NFTs. So that was like, right? This was the first time that an artist could directly monetize their own royalty stream.
Let's step back, because a lot of people in this community that don't understand what an NFT is.
Yeah.
So let's chat into that first, and then we can talk about the royalties and the underlying assets and everything else. So,
is the question, what is an NFT?
What is an NFT? Yeah,
we're going to start there.
Yeah,
it's funny because in some ways that's like one of the most difficult questions.
Yeah,
because I don't give it much thought anymore.
I think the name itself has to change, and I think it will eventually, because NFT, non-fungible token. Like, what does it mean?
I would say it depends on who's asking. So, like, I've thought about this, like, if my dad were to ask me, hey, I've heard about these NFTs, like, what's an NFT? I would just try to come up with the simplest, answer, which would just be like, well, Dad, it's like a digital collectible, and you can prove that you own it. And some of them can be like really scarce, and so to be able to prove that you own this digital collectible using the blockchain, it gives it a lot of value, right? So maybe that's simple enough for him. When it comes to an artist or students, because I teach the business curriculum at a music school here in Vancouver called Nimbus.
Okay.
Nimbus School of Recording Arts. So, and I've just started as part of the artist development curriculum. I've started a Web3 onboarding. I think I call it just Introduction to Web3 in Music. And so I had to think about, when I was writing that first lecture, like, how do I define what an NFT is to my students? Essentially what an NFT is, it's a line of code at its very base that sits in your wallet, in your digital wallet that you own. And that line of code says that you own an asset. And that asset can be on-chain, or it can actually be, in Dropbox. So just think of it that way, because I was really trying to have them understand, like, technically what an NFT was, right? And how it kind of, like, where it lives and how it lives there. So two very different definitions, and that was my starting point for them, and obviously it goes deeper.
Yeah. All right.
But when I think of an NFT, and if the average person asks me, I'd say it's like a digital collectible that uses blockchain to prove that you irrefutably own it. I guess if I can propose, like the question is like, why is an NFT a game changer in the music industry? So like that's for me the big question.
Yeah.
Right. And so I also have to think about this when I am teaching one of my classes on NFTs and onboarding them. It's like why should my students care? Because heading into the lectures, I've already taught them about half a year, right? And I brought up blockchain and I brought up Web3. I know out of a class of 15 students that like 9 of them are just skeptical and have a negative view
Yep.
of Web3 and NFTs. And there's like 5 that are like interested, right? So I have to explain to them why they should give a shit about NFTs.
So sorry, how many in that class?
So the classes range
15?
from 5
Yeah.
to about 15 students.
5 to 15. So say 30%.
30% are like interested.
That's a high number.
They
I
want
would
to
say.
know what? They want to know like more,
Yeah.
right? But the 100% of them, they're skeptical.
Yeah.
And I would say there's actual pushback from about 50%. They're like NFTs, like, and the reason for that is that we only hear about the NFTs that sell for millions, right, or that are monkeys or cryptos.
Or we hear the ones that failed.
Yeah,
Right? Or
Yeah.
somebody got scammed,
Totally.
their wallet got stolen,
Totally.
or sorry, not the wallet, but their
there was a rug pull, or they got hacked,
Yeah.
or something went wrong.
clicked on the wrong
right.
link and give them access
Right.
to the wallet, whatever
right.
it
Or
is.
you gave your NFT away because you sent it to the wrong address. I mean, there's a lot that can go wrong. And so that's all the general public really hears about. Unless you choose for yourself to dive deeper, that's all you're going to know.
Yeah.
And so I understand why they're skeptical, right? And so I had to think about what order to teach these lessons in. So there's 9 hours total. And so I have 3 hours per block, like per lesson. When I started the first lesson, like at the beginning, the first lesson was like, what is Web3? And almost like mental models of what Web3 is. Nothing more, nothing technical. What is the ethos of Web3, right? And then the second 3 hour block would be all about NFTs. Just all about NFTs. What are NFTs? How do you make one? How do you mint one, sell one? NFT marketplaces, the technology behind them, how you can use them for artist development. So, but nothing. We didn't set up a wallet or anything yet, right? Nothing actual. No playing around yet. The third 3 hour block is all about digital wallets and security, right? And so I spend like the first 2 hours intro to digital wallets, what they are, custodial, non-custodial, pros and cons of each one, and really emphasizing if you're going to go non-custodial, how to protect yourself, right? Then at the end of that lesson, I have them all set up a wallet, and then I have them obtain some crypto for free because you can do these like learn to earn
Yep.
NFT or not
Tokens.
Exactly. So they do this and it worked well, right? But then about halfway through the year, I read something on one of these amazing NFT blogs. There are just so many. I can't even remember which one it was. But the guy, and it might have even been a tweet, but the person essentially said, it's like, the first thing you should do, it was about onboarding. He says, forget explaining wallets, forget NFT, like for the cryptography or anything like this. He's like, start with the use cases. Someone wants to know like, what is blockchain or what is an NFT? And now I'm thinking about music in particular. Like, don't start with what, like a digital wallet. Show them what it does. Like, get them excited. And only if they're excited will they actually want to learn for themselves. And so I was like what a brilliant and simple idea. So I flipped my first lesson to use cases, right? So the first thing I do when I'm showing, when the class comes in now, is I show them this amazing thing that that this DJ did at South by Southwest this year,
Yeah.
2022.
22.
He essentially was playing a gig. You know, he was an official artist invited to South by Southwest. He was playing a DJ gig, and what he did was, right before he went on to do his set, he minted a song NFT that he hadn't played yet at all, and he was going to debut it during his set. So he minted it on Zora, protocol / platform, music NFT platform. So he does this, no one knows. He goes and he plays his set, and right as he's playing that song for the first time, this QR code comes up on the screen behind him. And it doesn't say anything, doesn't explain anything, but he was smart because he knew he was at South by Southwest. It's a technology conference, and that people are going to be into Web3 and NFTs. Someone would probably open their phone because they're curious and scan it. So he plays the set. That QR code is on the screen as he's debuting the song. The set ends, and he walks off and he checks his wallet. And there's at that point there was like $2,500 in Ethereum because someone had spent 1 ETH on this one-of-one edition of the song that he had just debuted. So in one set, he just made $2,500 additional dollars.
Yeah.
That would have taken him, I don't know how many millions of streams to actually receive through a Spotify and Apple combined.
Yeah.
In one, because he knew how to use
Interesting.
Web3.
Yeah.
And he understood scarcity. And it just takes one person. So what I'm trying to get across to my students, like, Web3, as a use case, Web3 is about, like, spreading your music as far and wide and trying to like reach the masses through playlists on Spotify and receiving fractions of cent.
So he's actually playing the music, right? So he's live playing the music. I've never heard of it, but he also has that cut on the NFT.
Yeah, it's a song NFT.
It's a song NFT. So he's got the QR code
On the screen.
on the screen. You open the QR code and you buy the.
So you're like, what is this? You don't
Yeah.
even know. Scan it. It's like, boom. Oh, wow. This
then you
is.
mint it right
and it
there.
says, because you get a description next to your NFT, which you can tell a story. And I always try to tell as much of a story as I can. It explains what's going on. And you're like, oh, shit, like he's playing this. This is the first time this may have ever been done. And I can actually own a piece of history, in a sense, by buying this right now.
Yeah. Let's just say somebody. Okay, I'm a musician. I have my music's. Every single album that I did, every song is on the NFT. So it's on the blockchain.
Okay.
I'm selling it. Utility now. What would I put on there as a musician?
It's totally up to you.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the fascinating part here to me. Yeah. I'm interested in the artwork a little bit and the music, but I'm more interested in the utility.
Right. And so this is the part that also I right away tell my students and anyone, that any musician, is the most powerful thing that you have getting in, like minting NFTs and getting into that space, is the ability to create an actual value and sort of a thank you and show appreciation through the NFT directly to your fans. And so then the question is, well, how do you do that? Like, what can you do? So there's all sorts of things you can do. The most sort of obvious one is exclusive content, right? So if you have this NFT, there's exclusive content attached to this NFT that no one else is going to see.
Yeah, like the behind the scenes, making this
behind the scenes, and so
whatever.
I'll tell you about a few that I'm doing right now. But so that's one thing. Another one is, like, if you own an NFT, we can offer you a discount on merch at our next show.
Yep.
Right, that's a common one. We can give you access to me, the artist, if you own this NFT, at 20 minutes of Zoom time or something like this, right?
Has everyone done like profit sharing?
For sure.
Right.
Like, so there are. I was alluding to Blau earlier, the guy who sold the first, NFT for about 16 or 20 million that he netted. So he started a platform called Royal.
Yeah.
And the basis of the platform is musicians mint limited edition NFTs on there. And when you purchase the NFT, it comes with a percentage of their streaming royalties. And that's the model.
Yeah.
And
what's that NFT called?
Called Royal.io.
Royal? Okay,
Yeah.
Royal.io. Is that on Ethereum blockchain?
I do think they're Ethereum based.
So through OpenSea, you can probably get access.
I can't tell you
Okay.
definitively.
We'll look it up.
But likely,
Royal.io.
likely.
Yeah.
And so it's a partnership with some significant investors in the crypto space. Nas is an investor.
Nas
and
is?
and
Oh, okay.
He was
Yeah.
I think the first deployment.
Yeah.
So you could buy you essentially as a fan you are owning a scarce collectible, but then you are also receiving a very small percentage of their future streaming royalties, which honestly at the end of the day, when I did the math, you're probably not even going to make that back through your streaming royalties, but it's the idea right now.
Yeah, it's the idea, exactly.
So there are also in terms of finance and if we're talking about that and NFTs, there are a company or two set up that will give you an advance based on your NFT potential or NFT sales, or even allowing them to you can almost stake your NFT with them.
Oh, there's a lot. Well, not a lot, but I know there's a few hedge funds out there today that are heavily based on Web3. And some of these have actually one of them, I forget, I got to look up the name, has outperformed any other hedge fund in the last 2 years.
Like Web2.
Any, right? So, but it's all based on Web3.
Yeah.
So they're looking at who's building this NFT, the DeFi, blockchain, and all that, and they put money towards that. So that's interesting. New artist has music, they're ready to go. Oh shit, I want to put this on the NFT, right? What's the process? How you create it, and then put it on, mint it?
Yeah, super easy.
Okay.
So you literally, the only the most difficult part is you just need to set up a digital wallet, right? Because you need that wallet to connect to the NFT platform. So
MetaMask or
yeah, sure.
MetaMask. Okay.
MetaMask, Rainbows is actually a non-custodial that I really like. Coinbase has one. So that's really the hardest part, and it's not even hard, right? Setting up a digital wallet is relatively easy. Now, using it safely is a
different story.
Whole other thing. But let's just say, so you set up your digital wallet, you connect to OpenSea, and you say create, you set up your account. You literally hit create NFT, and it says it's upload your MP3. Great. Do you have artwork you want to include? Yep, it's a JPEG. Upload it. You set the price, you set the quantity, you add a description if you want, and you hit mint or create, and it's up there. It's as easy as uploading your music to to TuneCore or CD Baby. So that is not the difficult part. The difficult to me, when I'm talking to a new artist, or it's so easy to make an NFT that it's almost the question is why are you making it, right? How does this integrate and help your career? And are you just making it to make it and expecting something unrealistic in return, like people paying money for your NFT that have no idea who you are, which happens all the time. So to me, the question is, why are you making it? And that is really where Block Sound Management, we were talking about earlier, where when we work with our artists and we are coming up with a Web3 plan for them, it starts with the why. Why are we even making this NFT? And more importantly, how do we integrate NFTs and Web3 into your Web2 strategy? Because they go hand in hand. You need to understand this, or you're not going to be leveraging Web3. You need Web2, at least now,
to push Web3.
To push Web3. So a mental model would be that I'm stealing from Chris Dixon, who has great mental models. But my strategy with my artists now is use Web2 almost as a loss leader, propagate it, give away music for free, let the music and your songs just get out there and remixed. And so the more your music and your profile raises in Web2, the more value you can capture in Web3. especially when you use scarcity.
Especially
Yeah.
today with TikTok like really taking off, right? Music based. You hit on Web 2 there,
Yeah.
and then link to Web 3.
Yeah.
It's game changer.
So you blow up on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Or, like, let's say you're an overnight sensation, which is now happens all the time. If you're ready to go if you have a Web3 already established, you have a bit of a footprint, right? You don't. Then if you pop on TikTok, you're ready to capture the value from this in Web3. You could even sell the TikTok, right? The actual TikTok,
Yeah.
or the song that it is, or whatever it is. You capture the value in Web3, and you do that through NFTs and through scarcity.
I don't think a TikTok has sold yet from my records, but I think the first tweet has sold as an NFT.
Yeah, that was so Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey. Yeah.
So interesting though. He sold that NFT for like a one point something million.
Yeah.
Originally, and he just tried to sell it not too long ago. I think it was for a profit over that, and so wait, does that make sense? So he sold it. Oh, and then the person who owned it tried to sell it, and they barely got anything for it. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it's maybe that says more about Jack Dorsey or Twitter. But
yeah, who knows
it's interesting, right? That's just Web3, like zoom, 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 zoom. You have
especially
no
right
idea.
now, right?
Yeah.
We're in the downturn here.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Web3 on the artist side. How about Web3 as a consumer of music? Okay, so one of the artists that that's one of your clients. They got music. They got the NFT out. We bought the NFT ticket to go to the show. I'm at the show, right? And I have the NFT. But the NFT is not the music. NFT is just the ticket to get in. As a consumer, besides watching the show, what else could be there in it for me?
From a ticket perspective?
From a ticket holder perspective.
So, I'm
I
by
think-
no means an expert in that space, but from what, but I try to keep up on it. So I actually think that NFT tickets is going to be a huge deal.
I think NFT tickets are huge right now, from tickets to an event, a sporting event, music event, even tickets, even buying Air Canada or United and flying somewhere. Did you fly this day? Yeah. Okay. You know what? Yeah. Prove it. And then it's an airline company. They probably won't do anything, right? They lose money, but whatever it is.
Totally.
Right. Emirates can probably do something.
Yeah, right. So with ticket NFTs, first of all, to me, because I'm thinking of it again from an artist management point of view.
Yeah. Think of it as
it completely has the capability to end scalping, right?
Yeah.
It can absolutely stop the gouging in the secondary market. But the thing is, the last 2 years there hasn't been any live, right? There's been nothing live. So now as we gear back up, I think you're going to start to see way more interest in this space because there's more live shows happening, right? And so first and foremost, having a ticket on chain from start to finish attached to me, to my phone, that the person selling the ticket can control and see every step of the way, just ends the idea of secondary gouging, right? So that's going to happen. But then the ticket itself is an NFT, so you can do all sorts of things with this, right? It can act as a voucher once you get to the show, right? It can act as a collectible. You can start adding dynamic. You can do that like a dynamic NFT that could give you more value over time. Like let's say you go to the 5th show of the same artist. Well, it can say, oh, you've now been to the 5th show of this same artist, and we're going to now release some sort of reward to you, to your wallet through this. You can do dynamic pricing based on as tickets sell through, the price of automatically of the tickets can go up where you're selling them online, right? Through dynamic price. It's if I was in the ticketing space, I'd be very excited.
Yeah.
Not if I was Ticketmaster, but they'll figure out a way to.
They'll figure out
a way to exploit it. Yeah.
I look at the sponsorship side, right? Let's say I go to say I'm one of the brands.
Yeah.
And I sponsor it, they go. Archivist sponsors it, people go there. Or a food brand, right?
Yeah.
Boston Pizza does it. You go to the event. After the event, people are hungry. They're walking out. All of a sudden,
Right.
airdropped into
great.
into your wallet comes like $5 off at
Totally.
Boston Pizza. Fuck, let's do it.
I mean, how awesome is that?
Oh yeah,
That is just a win-win. Like, give me that $5
Yep.
ticket off. It's not an inconvenience to me, or it's not like pushed in my face. It just shows up, and it's timing, right?
yep. It's time. Exactly, it's the timing.
Okay, now I'm exiting.
Right. Next day,
it's-
somebody's drunk, hungover, walking somewhere. Starbucks.
Yeah.
Bam, drops in there or something.
Totally. Or a greasy burger.
Greasy burger, yeah.
Leaving that night. So the other thing is just to note is, like, don't forget, once you have someone's digital wallet address, you can reward them at any point you like, right? So it's like, that's the other thing I really try to get across is like, I think every artist should be selling NFTs. Just like I think a lot of them should be doing it for free at the beginning, just to
Give away.
just to try and get people into their NFT ecosystem and Web3, and not, to give before, trying to receive, but also just building as much of a Web3 community as you can, and airdropping them stuff on, before, like, who knows where we're going to be in a year from now with NFTs and
then just
ability.
learning the process.
Sorry?
Just learning the process on creating it, right? Because you got the creative side first, right? You got to create that, the music, whatever, the artwork.
Yeah.
And then the wallet, like you said, minting. But before all that, the promotion. The
for sure.
pushing it out there, right?
Right. Letting people
the
know
noise.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, and that's a Web 2 thing, right? And so
That's Web 2, Web 1. That's
Right.
actually pre-web stuff by
right,
actually
that's
going out
just
there and
classic,
talking to people. That's
classic marketing.
Yeah,
and
classic
promotion.
marketing.
Absolutely.
What? So there's a lot of blockchains out there, right? From Ethereum to Solana to Cardano to Tesla, right? So where is the musicians right now? Where's the artists right now?
Yeah. So you're right. There are plenty of blockchains out there.
Yeah.
So I think the majority of them are on Ethereum.
Ethereum. Yeah.
There are, like, most of the marketplaces are built on Ethereum, and that's just because that's where the people are,
Yeah.
right?
But it's costly.
It's
Fees,
costly. It's costly. And so, however, now that there are layer 2 chains that sort of sit on top of Ethereum and offer you the same sort of secure, or that security that Ethereum gives, but higher throughput, higher volumes, quicker transactions. So, like, Polygon would be one, or Polkadot.
Yep.
So you can now mint NFTs on OpenSea, which is Ethereum based, but using Polygon.
Yeah.
And so
Solana's
that
about
is-
to come
that-
there too. It's there
yeah,
already.
and Solana is another example of sort of an alternative layer 1 blockchain, very quick transactions, way higher volumes, and gas fees are almost non-existent. The problem is their lights keep going out.
Yeah, exactly. I think 4 times this year.
Yeah. So, for me, the way I approach blockchains and NFT marketplaces is that I start classic artist development, right, which is really what I do. The first step before I do a Web3 program or strategy for an artist, which involves what blockchains we're going to use, is I just, like, you have to know the artist, just like any classic artist development as a manager. You have to know the artist, like, inside out. Like, who are they? What's their story? What's their brand? What are their values? What are their, like, you have to know them intimately, and only at that point can I then say, okay, now that I know this about the artist, and I just did this with an artist that I just started working with called Mads Langer, right? So this is a good case study in this. He's a big deal in Denmark. So he's a big Danish singer-songwriter, kind of folksy, eco-conscious, and super authentic, right? He can tour Denmark and sell out 3,000 to 5,000 seaters just and beautiful songwriter and performer. So he wants to get into, and his manager want to get into the Web3 space. So they approached me, and I began working with them. I was like, as soon as I heard the music, I was like, absolutely. So what I did was I spent weeks like getting to know Mads Langer and his music and his manager. And his manager would tell me about Mads and what his values were. And only after about, I don't know, 5 weeks of this, like really deep diving, did we then have a conversation about, okay, what are we going to do with Mads and Web3? And by the way, that first 5 weeks, I was just teaching his manager about Web3 and how digital wallets work. And I walked him through setting up a digital wallet, and I explained, just like I did to my students, it was similar to that, because he wanted to understand it before he took it to his artist. So after about 5 weeks of this, he's like, okay, great. So like, what are the next steps? And I said, well, actually the next step is to get Mads familiar with Web3 and digital wallets and how that works. And I started by just sending him articles and podcasts and having him, because he was genuinely interested. There has to be interest there, obviously. Otherwise it just doesn't work. So I sent him articles and links and podcasts, and he's been listening to them while he was on tour, and he just started there. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, okay, what is the right approach for him? And sort of long story short, I came to the decision that he should be on Tezos, right? I was already a big fan of Tezos. It's a super green, maybe it's considered the most like eco-friendly blockchain out there. Layer 1, super secure, fast, and super cheap gas fees.
Yeah,
it's
like
also,
nothing.
if you know what's up, like that's where the cool kind of kids hang out in terms of like the artsy indie artists and musicians, right? And so it actually took me a while to figure it out. I was like, oh yeah, like duh, he needs to be on Tezos. Yeah, it's not the most traffic there, but man, it's so perfect for him as a brand.
What's the marketplace right now for Tezo?
Their original one that like kind of just came out of nowhere and just blew up overnight was called, it's a weird story, Hick and Nunk.
Hick and Nunk? Okay.
Yeah, Hick and Nunk, I think is how you pronounce it.
Okay.
Which actually ended up being the ultimate use case, proof of like how Web3 works, because it ended up became really big. Tons of NFTs minted on it. Like I'll do the abbreviated version. Very popular for artists and for musicians. And then one day, literally, the guy who had created it kind of like said, "Oh, I'm just going to shut it down." It wasn't like a rug pull, but he didn't want to maybe deal with it anymore. Mm-hmm. So he literally shut it down. So this entire marketplace gone, right? So people that have spent, like me, I had probably purchased 20 NFTs on Hick and Nook. And so what happened was, because it was an open protocol, right? And so the code was there, even though he sort of, he turned the lights out himself. You can never turn the lights out on blockchain when the code is there. Yeah. Within, I think, 24 hours, it was back up. Yeah. But under like a different, variation on different, I don't even know how it works exactly, but it was back up, but he was no longer sort of the administrator of it. Yeah. So what happened after that is on Tezos is it sort of, there's been a few different NFT marketplaces that have sort of, I think it's called the Children of Hick and Nook, the Children of Hen, Hick and Nook. Yeah. The one that's sort of looking to be the most popular is called Object.
Yeah.
Right?
Object, yeah.
And like I just bought a G-Eazy, the rapper. Mm-hmm. He did this great collection that I just bought for like $4 on there. And so that is what I recommend. If that's one of them. I don't know them all. But that's what I'm doing with Mads. It's like, this is where we got to be, and they're into it. They're like, we don't care that not everyone is there because it works for him. Yeah. And we'll send his Web3 community there.
What are some problems right now in the music world where NFTs, Web3 can actually overcome a lot of the issues?
It's a really efficient way to transfer copyright ownership, right? So I want to buy the rights to your publishing, right? And so, that transaction happens on chain and immediately, and for everyone to see. And
actually, I got one. I'm just thinking about it, but I'll bring it up.
There you go. Make sure I get my cut.
True enough.
So transfer of copyright ownership. One thing I do is when my artists are making songs, like just producing them or coming up with their demos, etc., I encourage them to sort of put a proof of the demo of the as soon as they can on. There's a blockchain called Songs, SONGS, and it actually lets you like put. I don't know how they do it, but it lets you put your song on chain for like super cheap, like almost like not a really big gas fee. And so at least it's on because there's so much, I don't know if you know, but like in music, there's a lot of copyright infringement cases coming out of the works as publishing, becomes even more valuable and more in the spotlight. You'll see 5-10 years later. Just one the other day. It seems like there's one every day, but just yesterday I read, this is one of the old classics, Mariah Carey, one of her Christmas songs. Someone came out like yesterday and is suing her for, I don't know, copyright infringement or saying that she's owed a piece of that song somehow. Just as an example, right? This is like what, 20 or
at least 20, probably more than that.
And so, but if right when you record a song or shortly after you put it on the blockchain, there, it's done, right? And should anything ever happen, as long as that blockchain is still around, you can go back to it and say, listen, I wrote this before you did, So that's another example of one. And then, to me, maybe the most practical for me and where I'm heading is just the ability to pre-fund and crowdfund, to pre-fund the recording of albums and songs, right? So you use NFTs. You come up with whatever the NFT utility has, and you use that, and you explain to fans, like, this NFT, we are selling this specifically to pre-fund the recording to go mix and master this song. And so the obvious one for that, which I'm starting to do with this artist, Ian Howie, he has 6 beautiful songs ready to go that we need to now record. But we don't have the money to mix and master them. So we're going to take these demos and offer them as 10 edition and 10 of each one, the demo. And we haven't set a price yet, but it's going to be, a couple $100 each. And so a real fan can now own one of only 10 NFTs of the demo that they are going to help fund, like the finished song, by buying the NFT. And so this is like one of the most powerful use cases of Web3 and NFTs. It's just a total win-win. You have a fan who feels good about buying an NFT because they know it's going to directly impact this artist, right? And then on top of that, they have a bit of a stake in the ownership of this artist because if the song gets recorded and then sort of becomes popular, this NFT you just spent money on is going to increase in value. So you are helping an artist develop their career financially, but then there's also a potential that you can make a profit at the same time. It's like a completely crazy model. And then you also feel like a sense of ownership in that artist's career, right? Meanwhile, Ian, and the artist, gets funding to go record this album and has grown a relationship or, has brought in a fan to have skin in the game. Incredibly powerful, never existed before. Yeah, so that to me is like probably the most exciting thing. It's just to like micro fund certain steps of the recording process. And again, you just need, instead of like, 2 million Spotify streams, you just need one fan or 10 who feel there's value in buying the NFT, and then you go do your thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Any interesting projects you're working on?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So right now we have 4 artists under Block Sound X, which is this like Web3 music consulting company. And it's cool if you look at each at the four of them. I'll try to get through them quickly because they just show like, I believe that the way to approach Web3 with music NFTs and song NFTs and artists is that there's only one way to do it, which is every single artist is completely their own thing, their own brand, their own ethos, and you need to understand them, and then you go into Web3, right? And so, so the 4 projects working on, well, this artist I was just telling you about earlier, Ian Howie, who's this DJ producer. What we did was we released, he had a pretty successful single last year called Leaf Syndrome. We took it to college radio in the US, and it reached #1 on the college chill chart for 2 weeks straight, actually.
Okay.
So pretty successful for a first time, college radio campaign. It also hit the top 200 chart, etc. In college radio. And so that kind of ran its course, and we did the Spotify thing, and it's like a year later, and as we get into Web3 with him, we're like, well, what can we do, to capture some value in Web3 with what we did in Web2? And not even, for him it wasn't even capturing value, it was just establishing him in Web3, right? And so doing something cool with him in Web3. So what we ended up doing was we took the stems to this song that was called Leaf Syndrome. We put them in an NFT. We actually decided, instead of putting him on a blockchain, we built his own store on using a platform called Mintgate, which lets you build like beautiful storefront and sell NFTs on it, mint NFTs, and you are the store. You're just using their like protocol in their back end. And so we made the stems of Leaf Syndrome available in a 50 edition NFT. If you buy the NFT, which is essentially free, you're just paying a gas fee.
Yeah.
You get to download these stems from a song. And the stems are just the different parts of the songs, right? The guitar, the vocals, and it's what a DJ would use to create a remix, so he can choose which parts of the song he wants to work with, right? And you need the stems to do a proper remix. So we just made them available. You could download them. The NFT was free, and anyone can download it and then create their own remix. And it comes with the rights. You get the 100% rights to the master of whatever remix you make. So now you own the remix that you made, that we're giving you the stems for free. You can then sell it, print vinyl, go on Spotify. All the royalties that come to you from your remix are 100% yours. And so that's
interesting.
Why would we do that? Well, just like I was talking about before, because if we have 2 or 3 DJs that do this, and one of them turns into a hit, or 2 of them or it just propagates across Web 2.
Royalty?
Well, then no royalty. We don't get royalties. They own everything. They own masters 100%. So their incentive is they get ownership of the remix they make, right? And the NFT didn't cost them anything. Now they have the opportunity to use a somewhat known song, the stems, to create a remix of a somewhat known electronic song, and keep 100%. They can do whatever they want with that song now. They own it.
So you guys didn't even do a royalty on the stems that you sell?
No.
Just okay.
Because the more that remix gets out there of his, the more the original Leaf Syndrome that we own is going to be worth in Web3.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're hoping, and that's what we're going to continue doing. So it's not right. So it's a win-win. They get they own the masters of this remix that they create, and we're like, good, get it out there, do as much as you want with it, so that one of them pops or 2 of them pops or whatever. The more his name and remix is propagated in Web 2, the more we're going to be able to develop and capture in Web 3 through NFTs. That's the game with that. So that's one.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
So, second one is this band called Dealer's Choice.
Dealer's Choice.
That I just started managing about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Super left field case for the NFT world, because they're a classic rock revival band.
Okay.
Right? So they look like they're out of the 70s. They write songs like that as if the songs were written for the 70s. Yet, we're using Web3 to help develop them, right? And they're into it. They get it. I actually sat them down and gave them the same class I gave my students to get them to onboard them. And they were like, yeah, man, this sounds amazing. So we're gearing them up for their new single. It's called Back to Bonneville. It's actually out this Friday.
Okay.
We have a music video we shot for it. In the music video, and I think this is maybe the first time this will be done. We included a QR code
Okay.
in one of the scenes. It's actually, so it's not digital, it's actually in the video.
Yep.
And I got it from the South by Southwest idea, right? So it's an Easter egg in the music video. I've already set up the NFT on OpenSea. If you figure out to scan this QR code from your TV,
Yep.
it brings you to OpenSea,
Yep.
and you can get one of 100 Back to Bonneville song NFTs.
Okay.
So the song, the video for the song, the song for the video is as an NFT on OpenSea right now, actually. Just no one knows about it because I had to set it up beforehand. And so you're like, and you scan it from the TV and it goes there, and you can buy it for $4 with Matic, so Polygon,
Yep.
Matic. And also it unlocks behind the scenes content of them recording that song in the studio. That's the only time you'll ever see this, right? Is we had a videographer inside the day they recorded that song that you're seeing the video for, attached to the NFT. That's the only way you'll ever see that content.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
that's all happening with Dealer's Choice, a classic
nice.
rock revival band, right? So that's cool. Ian Howie, I just explained to you. Then this other artist I just started working with just for Web3 named Young Sway. So he's a sort of a trap hip hop artist. He's 19 years old, and he was actually one of my students at Nimbus. His thing is DeFi.
He's mining crypto?
He's mining crypto out of his apartment.
Nice.
Like he set up a whole rig. He did one of the courses at the school that I teach is presentations. And for his presentation, he's like a 20-minute explanation of how he built his mining rig. And I was like, that's insane. Like he lost me on the second page. I was like, I can't follow. And so he wants to get into Web3 with his music. And I'm like, absolutely, that's a no-brainer. Like what artist out there, I haven't yet to see one that is like a musician that is not like hyping up Web3 and NFTs, it's DeFi and like mining. And he has one in his apartment, so of course we're going to shoot a video around that, etc. And then I'm like, well, why don't you write a song about like crypto and not like crypto, but DeFi? So he's writing like a 3-song EP. The first one I already heard. It's really good, and it's called Bitcoin. And he talks about BTC and he talks about Ethereum, and you'll get it in 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And he's got his rig in his room, and it's like catchy as hell. And so
Nice.
we're doing like a little DeFi EP, and who knows where that'll go, but that's authentic, right? Like super authentic.
Yeah.
And for the chain, we honestly, we don't even care. Like he doesn't care. Like it's not so precious. We're just gonna keep putting out songs like that. So, and then Mads Langer, I already told you about this Danish artist. So we're doing the same ideas as Dealer's Choice. He's shooting a video. Mm-hmm. He just shot it last week. I was working with his manager. We're going to include a QR code, but post. It's not actually like part of the props. It's going to be a digital post-production thing.
Okay.
And when you scan it, it'll integrate into the video. But I'm just saying it's going to be a digital thing. And when you scan that Easter egg QR code, it's going to give you behind the scenes footage shot during the video, like. So of the actual video that you're watching, you scan it, the QR code, you get the song, and then you also get behind the scenes footage shot during the video that you can only ever see if you hold that NFT. So that's something else coming up. That'll be and we're doing that for free.
Yep.
One other thing I'll add is for the Dealer's Choice one that we're doing the QR code in the video, it's $4 in Matic.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah, it's $4 in Matic. 100% of that is going directly to fund Ukraine, to support
nice.
the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And because Ukraine is using crypto to help fund, so there's the best use case, right? So you don't need a bank, obviously, right? And so right away we're just going to flip that and send that to the Ukraine digital wallet, to the government of Ukraine's digital wallet address.
That's good.
Yeah.
Daniel, appreciate you coming.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. How do people find you?
How do they find me? So Twitter is Daniel Cutler _ at Daniel Cutler _
Yeah.
and otherwise Daniel at block-sound.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll get all the links up.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
man.
man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.